Hey guys, and welcome to a new little YouTube series I'm thinking about doing here. It's called Salty Thoughts. Whenever I have something on my mind, I'll make a little video about it and kind of share my thoughts with you and try to have a back and forth in the comments. Now, this one is about the future of Star Citizen and how I think it might not be so bright. So Star Citizen's funding has had record numbers over the last 3 or 4 months, and is that because old-time backers are buying more $27,000 game packages and doubling and tripling their fleets? I don't think so. I think it's because the game is really starting to come along and new players are coming into the game, buying starter packages, getting excited, maybe purchasing some other ships or upgrading their current ones to more expensive ships. Now, Star Citizen is a game that's meant to be played over many years to come, and I'm not so sure that that's possible based off of some things I've been seeing lately. Star Citizen released their financials at the end of last year for 2018, and some of the numbers really stuck out to me. Specifically, their publishing operations, community events, and marketing numbers. Now, this was all under one category and was around $9 million for 2018. This was a time where not a lot of players were playing Star Citizen, and the game was nowhere near where it is right now. I'm fully aware these costs are not just server and operation costs, they're the marketing team's salaries, as well as even Austin's CitizenCon's cost. So I looked on the internet kind of far and wide to try and find some comparables of what Star Citizen's server costs might be like upon release. And the best comparable I can find, and I'm really stretching it here and making some assumptions, so bear with me, is World of Warcraft's server costs for 2010. They were $137,000 a day, and that was with 12 million subscribers. That's a lot of players. I fully expect Star Citizen to be delivering a lot more data per player than WoW was, but I think most of us think that Star Citizen will be a pretty successful and popular game, but let's assume that they have 1/5 of the players that WoW had in 2010. That's still $9 million a year if you make the same comparable numbers for WoW server costs. And that's about on par with what I'm kind of seeing from Star Citizen's numbers for their financials in 2018 versus what we might expect for them to have around the time that Star Citizen launches, and that's around 2 million players, let's say. And I don't know if that's a wild number or a kind of standard number. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Now, one of the other things that are important to look at is not just server costs, but operating costs. Blizzard showed their operating costs, or mentioned their operating costs, from 2004 at launch to about 2014 at $200 million, so about $20 million a year. Looking back at the article, it was actually written in 2008, so this was over a 4-year period, not a 10-year period, therefore being $50 million in operating costs per year. So the numbers that I will talk about after this comment are actually even more conservative than I thought they were. So that doesn't just include server costs, that also includes any devs doing patch updates and things like that. So for anybody kind of thinking about writing in the comments below, well, when Squadron 42 is done, then there's going to be a lot less devs, or when Star Citizen releases, there's going to be a lot less artists. That's a really far ways off, and Star Citizen is in year 8 of development, and we're still not out of a single star system. So I think that the dev costs are likely going to look very similar over the next number of years, and maybe even through whatever a minimum viable product release will look like. So the amount of players playing Star Citizen might be significantly high, but the amount of work to get it to what the expectation of what Star Citizen would have been might still require significant dev time. Some of you may not know that Star Citizen funds their game by selling their spaceships, which is their main upgrade path, as Chris Roberts said at CitizenCon 2018. And the thing about this is that they've always said once the game releases that they will cease selling these ships for real money, and that they will switch to a different funding model, which is selling in-game currency to you, which is meant to kind of undercut whatever gold sellers there would be, as there are in every MMO. Now, I've never thought that this would be enough to fund the game, and I've never felt more like that than I have today. And I'm not only making the WoW comparisons because Star Citizen is planned to be an MMO, I'm actually making the WoW comparisons more because I don't think Star Citizen can have its longevity without a subscription model. We know a lot of that 280 some odd million in funding has already been spent on the game's development, not just Star Citizen's, but also Squadron 42's. And this growing player base has to be costly. Now, Star Citizen doesn't only have costs for their game development, but they also have a web platform that's pretty expensive. All of our transactions are done through there. Not only that, but they're delivering quarterly patches with 0.1 patches in between. And Star Citizen's game folder is about 40 gigabytes, and pushing that out to hundreds and thousands of players each quarter many times over has to be getting costly. To make another WoW comparison, Star Citizen's folder is about 40 gigs, and WoW's can be around 70 at times. So the more players that you have downloading this, obviously, the more costs ensue. I assume my subscription opinion is going to be unpopular. Basically, subscriptions are becoming pretty rare in games of late, so let's discuss some other ways that CIG can possibly continue funding the game. One of them would be customization, both of your character and your ship. We saw a little bit of this with the 300i, but that's all been kind of pushed in a corner somewhere and not discussed at all. One of the other things that I mentioned a little bit earlier is Squadron 42. Basically, Star Citizen has been funding the development of Squadron 42 for the last 8 years. When Squadron 42 releases, if you look at even a comparison of, this is a wild comparison, but PUBG in 2018 made almost $1 billion. And it was done by selling 50 million copies. Now, I don't think we can make that kind of comparison with Star Citizen, but let's say they sell 2 million copies at a AAA price of $60. That's another $120 million put back into the game. Now, there's some obvious investors that we know about that need to be paid back, but my hopes here are that the idea was that Star Citizen was not meant to advertise people to spend money to support the development of Squadron 42 so that all of that money can go into the founders' pockets. My assumption is that a lot of that money could get pushed back into Star Citizen's development, the same way that Star Citizen's advertising for Squadron 42 pushed its development. So there's that as well. And then there's the chance that they can still sell ships. I think there's a lot of people that think that they will still sell ships. I hope that they don't, but they just might, and there's nothing we can do about it if they decide to, other than not buy them if we think that that's an issue. There's the pay-to-win kind of arguments that I do believe selling ships may not be pay-to-win necessarily, because there really is no winning in Star Citizen, but anytime I've started from scratch in Star Citizen, my experiences have been so much better, and I think taking that away from players is losing. So that's kind of how I feel about that. And none of these options are as agile as a subscription model. Now, so all subscription models aren't equal. So there's two that I'd like to discuss here. There's the optional subscription model, and this is not one that I'm for at all, but I've seen this in other games. I've played a game like Albion Online that has it. And basically you get in-game perks for subscribing. So not just in-game items like we're getting now from Star Citizen subscriptions, but things like maybe reputation bonuses, or more money per mission, something like that. A lot of games do stuff like this. That's not something I'm for, or just the standard pay-to-play model. And then there's the kind of the EVE model. Are there any kind of subscription models that I'm missing here? Are there any that interest you more than others? I'm basically for the you pay and then you can play, and you're basically paying for what you're costing the company in order to keep the servers up. And that's going to do it for today's video. Let me know what you guys thought about this format and everything, but more importantly, let me know what you think about my thoughts about a subscription model and any of the numbers that I kind of are making assumptions on, right? Because we're heavily making assumptions here that Star Citizen is going to have a hard time keeping the doors open post-release. I think it's very important to recognize that ships are funding Star Citizen's development, but the question is what's going to fund Star Citizen's longevity? So guys, that will do it. I will leave you here. Leave a like, comments below, and hit subscribe for more videos like this in the future. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.